This is Christine Brown, and while I have to listen to this podcast as my motherly duty, you have the choice not to. My sons sometimes say some naughty things when they're trying to be funny, but really, they're just being stupid. If you still want to listen, go right ahead. I am not your mother.
Welcome back to the Patriots Dynasty Podcast. We are back to our regularly scheduled programming. No more eulogy talk. We're back to 2003, Week 9. 6-2 Patriots heading to Denver to face the Broncos at Mile High. I'm assuming it's still Mile High back then, right?
No, they had just made a new one, right?
I think it's still called Mile High, though.
No, this is like the first or second season of Invesco Field. Whatever it was.
Invesco Field at Mile High, or whatever it is.
It's like calling the garden sort of thing, you know?
Isn't it like just Denver, the Mile High city?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But I think that, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like they built a new stadium at some point recently during this.
2001, apparently, according to this.
Yeah.
But it's known as Invesco Field at Mile High.
And because the Patriots had never won at Mile High until that game.
Wow.
2000.
So apparently it's exactly 1 mile high. The 13th step on the west side of the state capitol building is exactly 5,280 feet above sea level.
Well, there you go. That's why it's called Mile
High. Exactly Mile High.
And our listeners thought they weren't going to learn anything today. Here.
I thought it was because they like smoking weed, bro.
Yo, get lit.
Yo, you like token up, dog?
It is that now, isn't it? But let's do a quick snapshot of where we are, because I don't know about you boys, it's been a while for me. This season did not start well. Cut Lawyer Malloy the week before the season started, and then lost to the Bills. And that same Lawyer Malloy, 31-0 to open the season. And then we haven't had many losses since then. We lost to the Skins in week 4 after a couple of wins back-to-back for the Eagles and the Jets. And now we are, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've had 4 wins up until this. And so this is win number 5. We're just going to get out there and say it. Steve, what was the score of this game?
I don't remember.
Craig, what was the score of this game? Stat check.
26-24? That's
30-26. I'm glad you boys are.
Okay.
I actually watched it. I just
have the important information.
It is a 1-score game.
I watched it yesterday. I don't remember.
It is a 1-score game. I watched this a few weeks ago.
But let's say why people would know it, because.
So this one is one of those named games. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the intentional safety game.
I feel like we should dive right into that because, I mean, again, this game has the name, but like that name, there's so much more to the game than there was just that one play. But that one play is what sticks out, because we were talking on the last one where we were talking about all the different best coaching decisions in Belichick's history.
Yeah.
And this game was kind of tops on that list.
It is, yes. And on that note, I pulled a clip of our man, Bill Belichick, and what he had to say about the game.
The post-game stuff.
Because this had the post-game
interview. Recording was awful in the beginning. The quality was shit.
Yeah. These are some old school, like definitely converted from VHS tapes. You can see like the squiggles.
But then whoever recorded it, thank God they recorded the post-game interview with Brady and Belichick.
Yeah. Well, this is the one clip I pulled from, because I mean we'll talk about the rest of it, but this was my favorite.
I thought we had played a terrible first half. I thought it was just awful. It was a miracle that we were as close as we were in the game.
So, Bill, how do you feel about your coaching, your like one of a kind coaching decision come to fruition? These things that you practice that were like completely out of left field. How do you feel about that paying off and you winning the game? Well, the fact that we're in this game was fucking bullshit in the first place.
I mean, he wasn't wrong either.
No. Yeah, this team had there was so many penalties. Let's see.
They had Patriots the highest to that point.
Yeah, 14 penalties for 85 yards. Denver had 4 penalties for 30 yards in the game.
So 9 in the first half too, right? Because he was specifically upset with the first half.
He was bullshit about the first half.
They weren't even like cheapo penalties either. They were all. I mean, there's one penalty I can remember that was not deserved, but most of them were like, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Andy, thoughts?
There was one call that was, but the rest of them were like legit calls.
Oh, that means they're really legit.
Right.
Yeah, Andy's on that, then yes. Yeah. The only one that was kind of bullshit was like they drew Matt Light off sides. And even Madden was like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and called it a false start, which like that's another thing that the Patriots practice is if a guy jumps off sides, the offensive line will reach out and grab him. So they make the call specifically.
Do you want to talk more about the commentators in this, Andy? Because I know you're just burning it.
Fucking John Madden, bud.
This is Monday Night Football, too.
Monday Night Football, ABC, John Madden, Al Michaels. Love it. I love that. I'm converted John Madden fan. I know he got a bunch of shit when he was towards the end of his career, but he was nowhere near as bad as Dan Dierdorf was.
I used to have a very negative opinion of Madden, and now watching the games again, he's so fucking good.
He's so good.
He's so good. Al Michaels kind of sucks with his stoicism. Not a fan of that.
I disagree. I like that. I think it's more professionalism than anything, especially when he's paired with a John Madden who's so flamboyant and over the top. Having that kind of calming influence there, I think is helpful.
Dude,
but
he's like,
you can say what you will about Al Michaels, but he actually called the intentional safety.
Yes.
Which, are you fucking kidding me? Name me one commentator today that you think would do that other than Tony Romo.
Because I knew it was coming, and you're watching it, and it was earlier than you'd think. There was almost 3 minutes left in the game.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2:51 left.
Yeah.
And they're lining up the punt, and I was like, I bet might be smart to take a safety here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, because my recollection of this game was the commentators were shitting on them as well for taking the intentional safety.
No.
And we proved the commentators wrong, but they both called it. And John was like, yes, that would actually be a great call.
Exactly, yeah. And then even after that, when they got the ball back and the Patriots driving, John Madden's like, this is right here is exactly where they should take a couple shots to the end zone because they were down by 3. Go for the win and then settle for the field goal. And as soon as he said that, the Patriots threw a touchdown, which was the game winner.
Good. They were both.
Right, so let's describe the circumstances then, right? So people understand.
Yeah, because we might have some listeners who didn't watch at this point, so
or just don't remember it, right?
Yeah, Steve, give me a recap of kind of how this game unfolded for me.
Patriots. Didn't Belichick just recap it for us?
Did you want me to do it?
You didn't let that clip go long enough because he's like, yeah, actually, we figured out in the second half. But yeah, they played. It wasn't actually dog shit. It was just so sloppy.
It was. So on their second snap of the game, Brady fumbles a snap and Denver recovers somehow. Even though the replay looked like Brady fell directly on it and tucked it underneath him. So I don't know how the hell he lost the football. But
dude, they actually showed a replay of him recovering it.
Yeah.
And John Madden was like, that's bullshit. He definitely has that.
Yeah. How that came out
ran in there immediately. The sideline judge ran in pointing the way, he could fucking see in the middle of the pile, it's an X-ray vision.
Yeah.
But it's even more important to note that the Broncos didn't have Jake the Snake. He had broke his foot, cracking his toes.
I had that written.
Oh, I have some stuff on that.
Yeah, so the Broncos are already expected to lose a little bit because their starting quarterback had broken his foot by taking his shoe off and cracking his toes.
Yeah, as if you're cracking your knuckles. He did that with his toes. And somehow this time he's done it for his entire life, but this time it broke his foot.
What you got, Greg?
Well, I don't know if we want to get into it now, but I looked up some funny injuries of pro athletes.
Well, there's even the other one from another Broncos quarterback, Brian Greasy.
Yes.
Also hurt himself. I think it was previous to that. I don't think he was on the team.
It was previous.
But hurt himself tripping over his dog to the point where he couldn't play football for a few weeks. But yeah, Greg, this is probably as good a time as any to what other funny injuries did you come across in your infamous deep dive?
Sure. So, I mean, some of the ones obviously we've heard of. There's like the infamous ones like Jason Pierre-Paul blows his hand over the firework, Plaxico Burress, Martin Gramatica celebrating an extra point and tearing his ACL.
Yep.
There's some more obscure ones.
Wait, it was an extra point? Wasn't even a field goal?
Oh, it might have been a field goal. Yeah.
Either way.
I try to break them into like, was it stupid or was it just unlucky?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So unlucky, I got Kendrick Morales from the Angels.
Yep.
He was he hit a walk-off grand slam and he was running around, and you know how they crowd at home plate?
Yeah.
He does the jump up thing and then lands awkwardly on home plate, breaks his ankle and misses 2 years. 2 years? He doesn't play for 2 years.
I mean, that's a way to go out, though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If you retired, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's tough.
This one guy, this soccer player in England, Kirk Broadfoot, he was trying to poach an egg and he was using the microwave.
Where's this going?
So he was poaching the egg in the microwave. He went to check on it and he opened the door and it exploded and like scalded his face.
Oh my God.
He's like, let's put this in for 3 minutes. What could possibly go wrong?
Holy shit.
That's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of stupid too.
Yeah, it's on the line.
That's definitely the line.
Yeah, Sammy Sosa sneezed too hard and threw out his back. That's a pretty famous one.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the stupid ones.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tom Hodricourt. This was a baseball pitcher. He was trying to. He had a history of dislocated shoulders, and he was still trying to rip a phone book in half to impress his friends, and then re-dislocated his shoulder.
I bet they were super impressed.
Did he rip the phone book in half, or
I don't know, unconfirmed, but
his shoulder in half.
Yeah, if you have a history of shoulder injuries, that's not the way to impress your friends. And then my personal favorite, Brian Anderson from the Diamondbacks, he was ironing a shirt, and instead of, like spritzing water on to see it hot, he put it to his face and then accidentally touched his face with it and burnt his face.
Oh my God. I'm noticing most of these are baseball players.
Yeah.
Oh,
A common.
Lord.
Jesus Christ. Wasn't there one? There's some baseball player, maybe even someone local, who like dropped a kitchen knife and like sliced his toe and was out for ages too.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy ones. A guy like playing with a drone. There was a lot of like people getting tendonitis from like playing too much Guitar Hero, or there was one guy that was too much Game Boy. It was like a guy from the 90s.
Holy shit. I need tendonitis from Game Boy. That's kind of impressive.
People like stub their toe and break their foot.
Yeah.
I think a baseball pitcher did that, like their plant foot. Like they just fucking kick their bed in the middle of the night. That's unlucky, I feel.
Beautiful.
An unfortunate schmelting accident. Shout out Goldfinger. My Vinky was a key.
Oh boy. But to bring it back to the game. So with all these
so they're on third string, right? So
injuries. Yeah.
Jake the Snake's out, and then Steve Berline, the backup's out too. So now you're on your third string quarterback.
Danny Kanell.
Danny.
Giants Hall of Famer, Danny Kanell.
Wait, he's a Giants Hall of Famer?
No. He played for the Giants.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. You know what?
If you had told me he was Jake Plummer, I would have believed you.
Why? Jake Plummer was good. I think Jake Plummer is underrated.
I think every quarterback in this offense with what's his name?
Clinton Portis? Oh, Shanahan.
Yeah, any Shanahan Broncos offense is just like a white quarterback who can throw really well off of rolling out on play action. It's all bootleg
hear me
throws.
out. Hear me out. I was watching this game and I said, this Broncos offense looks like the Patriots 2020 offense. Because their run game was sweet.
Quarterback, though.
Well, like, if you take Cam Newton plus the Patriots running backs this year, like, those runs were as effective as Clinton Portis by himself back in the day. And then everything else was bootlegs, like get him out of the pocket, throw for 10 yards, like easier completions, nothing down the field, no like. And then you contrasted it with Tom Brady in this game, whose only completions were like bombs. He was just throwing shots left and right.
Yeah, and I think it seemed as though that was the offensive game plan, was like, because coming into this game, we haven't seen that really this season. It's all been kind of your typical Brady short game, which makes sense because he's still playing with what was his shoulder injury that he had?
He had a separated shoulder.
That's right. Yeah, he separated his shoulder at the end of last season. So now he's still playing with that. But this game, like you said, every throw is 20 yards downfield.
Well, like the Broncos didn't have a single deep shot. I can't remember a single deep shot from the Broncos.
They had one on the last play of the game that Asante Samuel picked off.
Sure. Their last Hail Mary was like the only time they even tried. Like, again, the same thing with the Patriots this year is like, yes, we can run the ball. We can sort of throw it intermediately, but we can't threaten the field deep. And like it was the same way with the Broncos because Clinton Portis was legit.
Yeah.
That stretch running game from Shanahan was legit. Mm-hmm. And Shanahan knew like he had a quarterback who just like, if I asked him to do too much, he's going to fuck up.
Right. Because he's your third stringer for a reason.
Yeah. I have to game plan around him to solid run game, manage a game, and don't make the big mistake. And honestly, Danny Cannell didn't make any big mistakes.
Well, I mean, that's because he's your typical wily veteran. They made some comment in the game about how, like, I don't remember which school he went to, but he was going to become a doctor.
Florida
State.
Then
decided to become a mediocre quarterback instead.
Bobby Bowden and his like parents were like the team doctors for the Marlins and somebody else in Florida.
Right, exactly.
So
he's like, you know what?
He went to Florida State, and then he went to the Giants, the Falcons. Then he went to the Arena League.
Yep.
And then he played baseball for a while, played minor league baseball. And then this, I think, is his first year back in the NFL.
Something like that, yeah. They mentioned that he played baseball and arena football before.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's only 30, though. He's not like, he's really not like a wily vet. It's like his 6th year in the league.
I mean, he's been around, though, and he's smart.
I don't think he did poorly in this game. I think he did everything they could have asked him to do to win. And even Belichick said after the game, like, we just made one more play than they did. This game was awesome, start to finish. Let's throw a watchability out there because mine is for Super Bowls and AFC Championship. This game is eminently watchable. It's entertaining the entire way through. John Madden is crushing it, and it comes down to the last play.
Yeah, out of 6, I'd give it a 4.5 as well. That's probably where I'd be. This is one of the better regular season games.
I tried to watch it, but I didn't make it to the end. So I don't think I can really rate it because I think the most exciting part happens at the end.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but it was still like a good back and forth game all the way through too, though.
Yeah, but there was there was a little bit of a lull, like second quarter-ish, where like no team could really get it going, but there's a ton of big plays.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those big plays.
I was just going to say, yeah. So, first quarter, each team split touchdown. Clinton Portis had a nice 15-yard touchdown run off of the Brady fumble, like a couple plays later.
Nice cut.
Yeah, and then Brady gets immediately picked off.
Yes. We threw a double coverage deep on 3rd and long. It wasn't the worst pick of all time.
It wasn't. But then Denver, Jason Elam, the longtime Denver kicker, ends up missing a 44-yard field goal, which in Denver is probably like a 34-yard field goal. But I think, wasn't that when he...
Yes,
no, that's not when he came up hurt, was he? It was
I think it was. He maybe had one more, but like there was definitely field goal kicking issues on Denver's part because like that was such a weapon for them, kicking a mile high, and Jason Elam was like the old school Justin Tucker.
Yeah, and that kind of comes into play at the end.
From really
too.
long, yeah.
But then off of that missed field goal, Brady, I think on the very next play, answers with an absolute bomb, 67-yard bomb to Deion Branch on the first play, which reminded me a lot of the first play against the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. I think it might be this year. In the cold, it looks very similar to this.
I don't remember that, but we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah. So remember I said this.
Okay. It's on tape, Andy, so we don't have to remember. We can just rewind it and listen.
Right, because that'll happen. That was it for the first quarter. Second quarter, Denver gets a field goal from Elam, a 43-yarder, so all he needed was an extra yard in. And then Brady hits Givens deep and get inside the Denver 20, but have to settle for their own field goal. And then Denver kind of moves on a bunch of Patriot defensive penalties for the most part and put together the only touchdown drive of the second quarter. And there's 24 seconds left. And so Broncos are up 17-10 at this point. Look like they're going to walk into the...
That was a good drive by them.
It was, yeah. I mean, most of it was
did whatever he wanted to, and they took like forever. It was like a really long drive, 14 plays, like 8 minutes, you know? That's what Shanahan was drawing up when he's sitting there waiting for this game. Be like, hopefully Danny can give us one of these long drives.
Right,
it was like
exactly.
43 seconds left when they scored.
But I think that's what rankled Bill Belichick too, was that drive, because of the penalties kept the defense on the field on third downs and stuff. And it ended with a touchdown pass to the fullback with 24 seconds left,
which was a great play design as well. So they've been so hard on play action, and like Clinton Portis was awesome. And so they were on like the 5 or the 4 or whatever, and they ran a play action. But instead of like the fullback blocking for the play action, he released in the play action, and then Portis blocked the incoming defender, leaving that fullback wide open.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Nobody even wanted to cover him.
Yeah. Great play.
But
it was like 40 seconds left, so I went to go switch to the second half because this YouTube video was like flipped into 2. And I looked and I was like, a little bit left in this game.
Yeah. There's actually 24 seconds left after that touchdown, but Bethel Johnson takes the ensuing kickoff, 60-something yards, I think. 67-ish yards.
Yeah, I can't even take that to the house.
63 yards.
For how fast he was, I thought he was on like when he got tackled, I was like, he's on like the 13-yard line. And I was like, we're on the fucking 40.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised how far. Well, he was further.
He did a bunch of moves. It was an awesome return.
And
he had one guy to beat, and the guy got him.
Like by the shoestrings too.
Yeah.
So because of that, the Patriots get to run one more play, pick up 8 yards, and then they're able to squeak a Vinatieri 46-yard field goal.
Well, how do they pick up those 8 yards, Andy?
I don't have it written down, but my guess is team MVP Kevin Falk.
Yeah, buddy.
Of course it is.
Yeah. He actually
MVP,
a bunch
8 yards.
Hey, it was enough to get Vinatieri in field goal range.
Troy Brown is clearly hurting in this game. Troy Brown is definitely...
let's make some excuses for our other MVP.
He came in hurt.
Whoa.
Yeah, right?
They talked about Troy Brown, and they said he was doubtful a couple of days before the game.
Yeah, I think he was like a game time decision, but they just didn't have enough.
They said he was doubtful like 3 days. Like someone going from doubtful 3 days before the game to playing in the game is incredible.
Yeah, not great. And if you want to talk about wide receiver depth, pretty much all the Patriots' injuries in this game were to wide receivers. Troy Brown came back hurt, but was still out there returning punts in the fourth quarter, which he wasn't during the game, but as soon like when they needed sure hands and like an actual return.
Take away my best, Andy.
Troy Brown.
When they needed somebody to trot the fuck out there and not fuck up this punt. Like this, of all the punts this game, you cannot fuck this one up. They put out Troy, and like, we can't put you out there because you're hurt, but I know you're hurt. Get out there, receive this.
And he did his job. And then Bethel Johnson of kick return fame. I think he pulled a groin in the third quarter.
He had that, like, he slipped on a return and like fucked his ankle up too.
Something, yeah. And he went down like a few times where he had to get like helped off the field, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, and Bethel Johnson's back. I'm like, really? Because I didn't think he'd be back at all this season. But so he kept like going out for a while and coming back. But I think eventually went out for good. And then David Gibbons at one point was also being helped off the field. So like,
Dion got helped off the field too. Everybody got, again, all their receivers got fucked up.
Yeah, all just like a walking wounded from that.
We'll get to Gibbons. We will get to Gibbons.
We will. So second half starts. Let's see. The Patriots actually start putting some drives together. They're starting to figure out this Denver defense, who I think was one of the number 2 defense in the league, according to the commentators.
Yeah, but they're all no names.
Well, they're also decimated by injuries, the Broncos in general.
Still. They had Delta O'Neal bench.
Yeah, they did.
They're starting like these. There's a lot of, again, I mean, you look at it from the perspective of history of like, but like Al Wilson, I think was the only dude I recognize in that defense.
Really? Trevor Price, John Mobley.
Mobley wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Delta O'Neal.
He wasn't playing either. He wasn't starting.
He was the third down.
Yeah, he was like not even. He was like relegated to like nickelback maybe.
Yeah, and punt returner, which we'll get to.
Well,
He didn't play well in this game at all, except for that fucking touchdown.
No, he also fucked it up on the fucking free kick.
Yeah, way to ruin that though.
We'll get there.
Just killing that flow.
Yeah,
idiot.
Let's go play by play till we get there, shall we?
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Okay,
we're going score by score because that's how we do on this podcast. So third quarter, Patriots starting to move the ball. Brady throws a beautiful. I think this. I don't think it is, but I want it to be true that this was off of a hard bootleg play action. Brady rolls out and throws a touchdown to Daniel Graham, and it felt like a fuck you to the Broncos who have been doing it all night on offense.
Yes,
we can do it too. We'll throw a touchdown on them. Yeah, because that was the only time they did it that I remember.
The Broncos did it pretty successfully a couple of times, where like they established the run, and then ran that naked bootleg off of it,
right?
And ran some guys there, and it worked like twice, and then Romeo was like, nah, and then it didn't work the rest of the game. It's kind of crazy. You could actually see the adjustments. You could see that like Shanahan and Belichick were like going toe to toe almost.
Oh, absolutely.
Both teams are so injured and like they're making do with what they got.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots defense is decimated, and
there's a lot of parallels.
Receivers kept getting hurt, and like the Broncos were starting third string quarterback, and Portis got hurt, and
then also
he came right back.
Elam went down, so now their punter is kicking field goals, which meant Danny Cannell is also now the holder on field goals because the punter was the holder, but now he's kicking, so they need it. So like this
that was the sneaky. If Elam hadn't gotten hurt, we wouldn't have won this game because
I think the game would have been different.
From like the 30 inside the 35.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But to go back to what Greg was talking about, Denver after Brady's touchdown, Denver goes nowhere and punts, and then Branch was back there returning the punt, and he fumbled it. But the Broncos recovered, but it got overturned. And I watched.
Yeah, that was a ground cause fumble. It was pretty clear.
Yeah, I think the ground caused the fumble. So the Patriots got it at their own 18, but it wasn't a good punt return or anything. And so they go 3 and out and punt it to the Broncos, but it gets called back for holding on the Patriots. So they have to punt it again. And this is where Greg was talking about your boy Delta takes the punt return basically right up the middle for a touchdown.
That was a sweet punt return. He gave a bunch of people the whoop, It was not the blocking. It was definitely Delta O'Neal.
Yeah, he did a lot of that.
But like that's such a classic Belichick call too of like re-punt it, make him run again. And
I think in the post game he said like that's why we make him do it because they just ran all the way down there again. Now like there's a better chance for them making a mistake the second time.
Just like the Steelers 2001
AFC Championship
game where they made him punt it again and Troy Brown took it to the house.
Exactly the same thing, just against you this time. So now we're into the fourth quarter. The Broncos have a 24-20 lead.
Wait, before we move on, did you catch that thing in Belichick's post game
Which thing?
where they asked him about the intentional safety?
I mean, I
And
saw it.
he's like, yeah, we did that in 2000. Like, yeah, it comes up every couple of years
Really?
against the Broncos.
No.
And he's like, it didn't work out for us because Delta O'Neal took it to the house.
Really?
I
missed
looked
that.
it up, and there's a primetime highlight on this, and they don't show the intentional safety, but the Patriots took an intentional safety against the Broncos in 2000. The free kick to Delta O'Neal,
Yeah.
and he has a very, very similar return, just straight up the gut for a touchdown. So they free kick it,
No
and Delta
shit.
O'Neal takes it to the house.
Wow.
For
And then they
yeah.
decided to do it again.
Yeah, so there was like
Third quarter.
oh,
too.
we'll give up 2 points, then they give up 7 more. Like, oh, well, that was a 9-point swing. What the fuck?
Yeah, fuck it. Oh, I missed that.
It was
part.
the same
That's awesome.
player too. That's crazy. So
Right.
like he already seen Delta O'Neal return one on him.
Yeah, but it's funny because they were talking about how Delta O'Neal was in the doghouse with Shanahan for, I don't know, probably bad
Coverage, I
quarterbacking,
guess. Yeah, they
I
didn't say.
assume. But then he had that punt return for a touchdown. It's like, oh, maybe that'll bring him out of the doghouse. Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Al, I mean, Al was like, oh yeah, he returns a punt and return touchdown. Cool. Yeah, I was like, come on, Al, get excited, buddy.
I'm okay with Al. He's fine. But yeah, so at the end of that third quarter, fourth quarter, the Patriots are driving, end up settling for another field goal from, the Patriots drove inside the 10. They can't finish drives in this, probably because they don't have anybody left on offense. But Denver is now starting to run the ball well. I think Clinton Portis had over 100 yards in this game, which is so far this season only the second player to run for 100 yards. Only the second 100-yard rushing game versus the Pats. Miami was the other with what's his face.
Well, that zone blocking from the Broncos was revolutionary in this era. They were the only team running that scheme of like lighter offensive linemen, and they just block the zone and push everybody that way.
Yeah,
which created gaps for the one cut and go.
Exactly.
And also the cutbacks and the bootlegs off of it. And I mean, Shanahan was a great coach. I think that was clear in this game for sure.
He could definitely run the ball.
The fact that they were even close with a third string quarterback, and this is like a fucking hard fought game, and we're the eventual Super Bowl champions. I mean, speaks a lot to that.
What were you gonna say, Jay?
Well, did you hear Portis talking about that? Where he's like, I'm not that type of back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck that. I'm not going to do it just because they tell me to.
They had a whole interview of him just being like, yeah, I have like 6 million coaches now. Just like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, it was something about how he's getting coached 3 different ways by 3 different coaches. Like, yeah, my running back coach told me to do something. And then like the offensive line coach told me to do something else. And then the head coach, so I just do whatever the fuck I want.
That's it.
And it's working.
There's definitely some truth to that.
For sure, but like, don't go on Monday Night Football camera and say that. Good
why
Lord.
not?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's why he got traded.
Well,
I mean,
he had a pretty fucking good career.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, how many yards did he have
Wait,
this
what
season?
would you rather have, Greg? Champ Bailey or Clinton Portis?
Yeah, I mean, we
That
already
was a
talked
great
about
Curtis.
this, but I mean, he had a good career.
In 2003,
He's
he
a
ran
good running back.
I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I think it's great, but like, I don't know.
I mean, that's a real thing of like when you're getting coached in like a lot of different ways, like that. Once you have to be instinctive as a player of like trust. Yeah, I think running back more than anything, where you have to like trust your skill set and just fucking play to your strengths. Whereas like all these coaches, you telling all this shit, you start thinking about it, and then you end up sucking.
No, you overthink it.
This year in 2003 with Denver, he ran for 1,591 yards and 14 touchdowns. It's the most yards he would run for in a season. He averaged 5.5 yards a
To the
carry.
Redskins.
The year after.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Broncos sold high on him and got Champ Bailey, who was awesome for like a decade.
Right.
I mean, he had 4,000-yard seasons out of 5 after getting traded.
True.
But like
And,
Champ Bailey
the lowest one of those was 1,200 yards. It wasn't even like barely breaking it.
But Champ Bailey was epically good at a more premium position.
You're not wrong.
All right.
So he's starting to move the ball in the fourth quarter. Denver drives to the New England 34, and this is what you're talking about, Steve. Instead of going for a long field goal, what's that? 34 plus 17 is what, almost 50-yard field goal, give or take.
It was worse than that though. It was like 4th and 3. And they have Clinton Portis, who we just talked about, was a beast and like averaging like 4.3 yards per carry in this game. And they're looking at 4th and 3 and at the 33 and being like, let's punt it. Like those decisions in this day's game are just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like the game now is so much more aggressive of like, once you're inside the 40, you're either going for it or you're kicking the field goal or you're getting a touchdown. You don't punt inside the 40.
Yeah, this felt like the very, I don't know if Belichick started or a war. He just because we're Patriots fans, that's where we learned it from. But that kind of like gray zone of like, it's too close to punt, but it's too far for a field goal. So we're just going to fucking go for it because even if we don't get it, like punting it would only net us an extra 20 yards anyway. So.
There was a punt that netted up like 13 yards. It was this punt, right?
Well, this punt. The problem with this is they punted from the 34, and it was a touchback, so it was like a net 14-yard punt.
I have a note here. You can see it was 4th and 3. They run the punt team on, and then they cut to Belichick, and he's like, "What?" He was legit confused that they were punting.
But really,
he expected them just like, let's just go for it. We have a great running back. We can get these 3 yards. Like, just line up and stop us. Like, if you stop us, great. If you don't.
A running back who in this game is averaging 4.2 yards a carry, and on the season 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, but Belichick did it earlier in the game, though.
Punting from the 30.
Short punt. He did.
Yeah, they were on the Denver 40, losing 17-13 in the third quarter, and he punted. There's a net gain of 20 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Belichick's much better.
What was our rushing attack this game? It was fucking non-existent. And what was it down in distance at that point? It was like 3rd and 8 from the 40 is totally different than 4th and 3 from the fucking 32. When you have Clinton Portis, who's averaging 4 yards per tote in this game.
Yeah, but Belichick's decision is just as bad statistically.
But that was like the first drive of the half, though, wasn't it?
Doesn't matter, dude.
Doesn't matter. Belichick had a running game that makes it the entire, the down and distance makes all the difference.
I really don't think so.
The Patriots this year are a great example. Like at least the Patriots offense this year would be aggressive in that situation.
No.
Like it's 4th and 3. You're on the 35. We're not kicking the field goal. We're going to go for it with Cam Newton.
I think the Patriots are behind the times on this. I think there's other coaches that got ahead of this way quicker than Belichick did.
I think there's a lot of analytics behind it now.
Yeah. And Belichick's not a big analytics guy.
Right.
Yeah. Like Riverboat Ron is the first one that comes to mind. That was like, okay, this guy is like setting the precedent for being super aggressive.
I would say, that's probably true.
And then Peterson,
John Harbaugh.
Yeah, Peterson is another one that jumps out.
But there's a blend of art and science, and
yeah, I think so.
I don't want to get too far into it, but like, the Seattle Super Bowl was the perfect example of that. Of like, what did the analytics say?
Yeah,
and what about not taking the timeout and putting pressure on the other coach? And
I still think that was a terrible decision.
But it worked out.
It worked out in hindsight, but I don't think that's the right call.
Like,
98 times out of 100.
You might not think it's the right call looking back, but like even in this game, when the Patriots are backed up and like there's 3 minutes left, and I was like, they should probably punt this out. That was my initial thought when as soon as like they hit that, and I was like, oh, this is where they did safety. And like it wasn't my like rational thought to be like, let's take safety here and like play that game.
Right. And not only that, but on Denver's next drive, too, they made some strange decisions where they were running well again. I mean, they're running for 4 yards a carry. Easy.
Richard Seymour is out, by the way.
Yeah, he was a late scratch in this game, so he just didn't even play. So
huge
I think
loss. I mean, it showed so much.
Yeah, there was huge gaping holes in the run game. But, Denver's running well. I wrote Denver running well again. So, of course, they start throwing the ball once they cross midfield. And from there, once they cross midfield, they basically go 3 and out. They end up at the New England 35 and punt from there again. So that's twice. But this time, they down the ball at the 1.
Yeah. They
instead
punted
of
from the
it being
31, not the 35.
Right. Yeah.
Per my notes.
And the Patriots go 3 and out. Did not look good.
But before we get there, Madden, when they get the ball on the 1 yard line, goes, I'm a believer. They can score. I pronounce everything. They could definitely drive this down the field and score and win this game. He did that earlier this year, but I don't know. I had a perception of hating Madden because of that Super Bowl, but going back and rewatching these games, he's awesome.
He is. He's great.
He's so awesome.
I love him.
And he's just tongue in cheek, just I don't know. He's the best.
I'm a big fan of him. I always thought him as just a bumbling grandfather who just didn't really know what he was talking about and just
generally the team that scores the most points wins the game. Was
just drawing a whole bunch of shit on the screen with the telestrator.
There was one thing in this game where he said something and Al Magas sort of called him out in it, and he just doubled down and said yes. Didn't realize as soon as he said yes, he was being an idiot. Laughed, just kept going. It was the best.
Yeah, big fan of John Madden in this. So, I
know what it was. It was something about an orchestra, and Al Michaels was they were talking about, Monday night on the mic.
Yes.
It was I guess The Voice or all of those singing shows way before they were a thing.
But with players.
Players, yeah, that was weird. Yes. I saw that too.
And I tried to Google it. Nothing came up.
Really?
There's nothing out there on it.
That's
so if any of our listeners know what the hell this is,
it's a karaoke thing, but they're saying some of them play. It was Kyle Turley was one of them, which I would love to see video footage of him singing some sort of fucking karaoke, The Voice, American Idol shit.
But it's I think they had other people with them. It sounded because John Madden was saying something where.
It was a contest where certain people would advance each week and then you vote, and those people. So it was whatever, American Idol. American Idol was American Idol.
Right. But his thing was it seems that if the player's the one playing the instrument and they have somebody else singing, they're most likely to win the matchup.
Yes. He's if you have an instrument as well, you're always going to beat the dude with the voice. Only. Right. And Al Michaels was what about if they're playing the kazoo? And he's yes. And then he's and then he's went right into the commentary.
Yeah.
He realized that what he just agreed to and forcefully agreed to was absolute bullshit.
And then just kept on going. Fine, we're gonna ignore that.
Plowing ahead, baby. Yep. I loved it. And then where they had the little kid on the TV, they had a fucking 1 or 2 year old. Oh man, Madden loved that kid, and he's oh man, he has no idea what's going on right now. I was thinking that same thing. That little kid is what is this? Why am I on TV? And imagine
way past his bedtime.
Oh,
beautiful.
Well, can we talk about Barrel Man real quick too?
I mean, you don't want to talk about the intentional safety, the whole reason we're here right now?
Barrel Man?
No, the fucking intentional safety. You don't want to talk about that? Literally the next thing up?
No, I want to talk about Barrel Man.
Talk to me about Barrel Man.
They cut to this old ass dude signing autographs in the middle of the stadium.
Yeah.
He looked I think he's in a wheelchair or something like that. And great to see Barrel Man here. And John Madden loved him. He's I love Barrel Man. He's the best. He's the best person of all time. And I was who the fuck is Barrel Man? Wikipedia'd it. It's this dude who's been going to Broncos games since 1971.
Yeah.
to like 2003 or something. He missed like 3 games total.
Yeah.
And his brother bet him that he couldn't get on TV at the Broncos game.
$10.
$10. So he shows up in like a wooden like whiskey barrel, suspenders, paints it orange, like the soda, I guess, at the time.
Orange Crush.
Cowboy hat, cowboy boots. Gets on TV.
Yeah, because at the time, the nickname for the defense was the Orange Crush. So he wore an Orange Crush can.
Well, it was like a barrel, an Orange Crush can. And then he did the same fucking outfit for like 40 years.
For a long fucking time.
Dude, do you know how many cold-ass games have been in Denver in that time? He's going to every game. And like at that point, you're the barrel man. You can't not wear a barrel, you know?
Yep. Yeah, he first wore a barrel in 1977.
And he stopped in like 2000, like right before this, I think.
He retired. McKernan retired his act after the 2007 season at the age of 67. Because he showed up to games. Where is it?
The dude
he had serious health issues in 2003, and after that time, he was restricted by doctors to wearing his barrel for 1/2 of play, and then only when the temperature was above freezing.
Imagine the doctor prescribing that.
Right.
You can only wear this barrel the Broncos games 1/2 a game when it's above freezing. The dude has a legit statue.
He has a statue?
In front of Broncos Stadium, yes. There's a barrelman statue.
Wow, they do.
Yes, and like this guy there's like a Bud Light koozie with like the suspenders on it. This guy's an absolute fucking legend.
Well, apparently he would spend his off season with his wife traveling in their RV. Yeah. So according to Wikipedia, due to the space constraints of living in an RV, McKernan sold his Super Bowl 32 barrel for $30,000.
They had everybody's signature on it.
Cool.
All the players signed it.
Yeah.
Dude, what a fucking centerpiece. If you're a Broncos fan, hey, welcome to my home. Here's Barrelman's barrel with everybody's Super Bowl winning signatures on it. Wow.
Right? As you do, I guess.
That's just epic. I mean, I don't know if there's so much of that these days and age, you know?
Yeah.
Bill's Mafia is like a conglomerate where like Barrelman is.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you have now is Fireman Ed, but he's kind of a tool.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
The absolute worst, dude. If we're ranking a continuum, Barrelman's on the left and Fireman Ed is on the exact opposite of like douchebag. Everybody hates him.
Yeah. I mean, there was the Hogettes for a while. Those guys are great. I don't think they're still around.
I don't know if everybody hates Fireman Ed. I think it might just be Patriots fans.
I think you're like, I don't hate the Barrelman.
No,
How
I think
hate this guy? He's showing up in a barrel.
Division rival.
But
yeah, no, that's true.
Ed is like, I don't know. He's just
a fan that gets people hyped. We hate him because he's a Jets fan.
But didn't he go through something where he stopped going to Jets games and then like tried to make them like pay him to come back or some bullshit like that?
I don't know.
He's like the Marlins guy, you know? Like they're both like they seem more focused on themselves.
Yes.
Where Barrelman just loved the Broncos.
Wearing a barrel because it helps the team win.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. He's been wearing the Broncos because he's wearing the barrel because his brother bet him $10 in 1977. There's just
so he's in it for the money.
No, he's in it for
he
the
was.
Fucking, he's gritty. He's missed 3 games his entire fucking life.
I think Greg needs to be the next Patriots barrel guy. I think he needs to be chicken wing hat guy. And just go to every Pats game. Chicken wings hat
guy.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, I still got it.
All right.
I'm not going to games though because we're not winning 13 games a season. So
it's 12 that we averaged.
Why would I buy tickets if we're not perennial favorites?
Because they're cheap. All right, you sold me on Barrel, man. Initially, I had written down that he was the Fireman Ed of the Broncos, but
That's not true. Don't slander him like that.
Apparently
Dude, like the Jets aren't going to build a fucking statue to Fireman in.
Well, they might. What else they have to celebrate?
He's like the Bobby Orr of fucking the Broncos.
I mean, John Elway probably is, but okay. Sure. The Bobby Orr of the Broncos. Jesus Christ.
I am hard on Barrel, man. That's
we can see you're
fucking rock hard apparently.
Yeah, I love it. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Jesus.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Someone needs to take a fucking ice bath over there.
Relax.
You
know who else is about him? John Madden. John Madden also loved him.
Oh yeah. Oh, you've mentioned that.
You know what else John Madden loved? When the Patriots took an intentional safety. And I think they asked Belichick about this in the post-game show. They're like, so you practice that? And he's like, no, we just tell the long snapper just chuck it as far as he can over the punter's head. He's like, he doesn't need to practice that. He does that by accident sometimes.
That was a ridiculous question.
We actually have to practice him not doing that.
He's like, we practice it, and like I think he meant like we talked about it. Like,
yeah.
Wait, this is a situation we take an intentional safety, and like, did you practice a play? He's like, he just fucking snapped. He just asked the long snapper to snap the fuck out of the ball.
Yeah, he just throws it as far as he can over the punter's head.
But I think low key, Lonnie Paxton hitting the upright, was a key part of this game because like. That's what's also super memorable. Not only did they take the safety, but he hit the thing and it bounced back in.
Yeah, hit the upright and came straight back down. Beautiful.
And also kind of constant confusion on the field. People like, oh, what the fuck? You know,
Ken Walter freaked the fuck out. He's like, no, the play's dead, right? The play's dead. He didn't know like if he should go jump on the football or like what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they were talking about the commentators talking about usually you snap it to the punter and he just catches it and steps out the back of the end zone.
But I like Belichick's system. Just see you later.
Yeah, no, that's a whole extra step that could get fucked up if he drops it and it's touched it. No,
we're lucky
as far as you can.
Goalpost is technically considered out of bounds, right? Even though it's in the field of play, it's technically considered out of bounds. Blah blah blah. Yep. Imagine if they hadn't had that, then that would have been like a fucking touchdown Broncos or whatever.
It would have been a scrum, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then this back to Delta O'Neal. Who?
Well, you want to describe the circumstances of this? Because it's really about as opportune as a time as you can get to do this, right?
Yeah.
2-point game. So it's 24-23. Yeah, 24-23. 3 minutes left. You're on your 1 yard line, right? So if you punt it away, they're probably going to get the ball at like the 40th. 40 like midfield, inside your half. We'll call it, right? And the alternative is you're basically saying we'll have to kick a field goal to tie and then take our chances in overtime, right?
Yeah.
You're hoping for a 3-and-out either way. If you punt it, you're getting a 3-and-out, you get the ball back probably around your own 10-yard line anyways.
Right.
You still got to get a field goal and a touchdown wins it. So if you take the safety, you're basically gaining what, like 40 yards of
as long as you trust the defense, you should be gaining about 40 yards.
Right. So either way, you need a 3-and-out.
Yep.
So there's probably not a better time to make this call.
Yeah, there's really no other time to make this call. Like this is kind of the only time it comes up.
Because I was like, how often? I can't remember another time where I've been like, ooh, this is a decision. Should they take a safety?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like almost never comes into play.
And they asked him about that in the post game, and he's like, well, this shit happens every so often. We did it in 2000.
But 2000
and he
was
brushed
different.
off. Like, yeah, it comes every couple of years. And like, I haven't
seen it since.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, it had happened every couple of years because this is 2003 and it happened in 2000. It's like, every few years it happens. And then it just never happens again.
Yeah. But that one, they're up 21-3 in 2000. So that's like you're not trying to come back in a game. That's just, he's like, all right, I'm worried about this getting blocked.
Yeah.
And we're giving up a quick score.
Or return for a touchdown, which is exactly what happens anyway.
Where he's like, I'll take the 2 points to make sure that we don't give up 7 here.
Well, I mean, what a mistake though. They gave up 9 on the play.
They gave up 9 instead.
Yeah.
So it goes from 21-3 to 21-12.
Yeah. So Steve, walk me through the return on this because you watched it yesterday.
I mean, like that's the other part about this decision that honestly worked the opposite way of that whole what they did last time because they choose to say, all right, let's get the field position, give up the points, and kick the field goal to force overtime if we have to. And which is crazy because think that the last time they did that, they just had it returned up their ass and for a touchdown.
Right.
So a little bit bold.
Yeah. In this case, Delta O'Neal, for some reason.
It's the same return, too. That's the crazy part. It's the same dude back there.
But he doesn't catch it clean. Like there was some miscommunication between him and whoever else was back there.
Well, they were saying that he was the punt returner, but not the kick returner. But still, like he had legit done it 3 years earlier and taken to the house. So it's not like this dude had never done that before. But
the kick was a little short, so the guy in front of him kind of like almost looked like he was going to catch it, and then at the last second kind of took off to go block.
It looked like he didn't. Yeah, it was like you got it, I got it, whatever.
Yeah. So it bounced and went straight backwards. So by the time Delta O'Neal jumped on it, he was inside his own 20.
Caught it, and they tried to like loop around, and then around wasn't there, so he ended up going backwards. And
so they ended up starting at their own 16, which is like 16. You couldn't have done that any better.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you want to punt from your own back line of your end zone, and they get it on your 40, or do you want to give up 2 points and they get it on their 16-yard line?
Right, which is like a massive change.
Yeah, it's an easy decision at that point.
Yeah. And then the Patriots defense holds for one of the first 3
Which
and outs.
is impressive because Portis was gashing them.
Yep. This was...
Teddy had some good stops there. He balled out in that last series.
This was the third 3 and out of the game. The first was on the first drive of the game.
Wow.
Yeah. And the second was on the first drive of the second half. And then this one was the only other 3 and out, I think.
I mean, they needed it so bad.
Yep.
Like I said, Teddy was key in that.
Yeah. And then this is where they send Troy Brown back to return the punt.
Mm-hmm.
So the Patriots end up starting at their own 42, which is perfect. Like you said, this is what happens when you punt out of your own end zone. The other team starts it around midfield. And so the Patriots start at their own 42 with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left and a few timeouts, I think, still. Yeah? No? They have timeouts left?
They had 3 timeouts when they did the free kick.
Oh, so
I believe
probably
they used
not.
2 of them on the 3 and out because they tried to throw for it to make the third down. They didn't get it.
Right.
Yeah, they threw a Ty Law of all people. Like we need a third. We need to get this third down. Let's throw a Ty Law.
They had 2 minutes 15 with 1 timeout, so they had the 2-minute warning and a timeout left.
Yeah. And so then it was MVP time. Kevin Falk picked up 19 yards on the screen. And then a couple plays later, on 3rd and 10, Brady hits Falk again for 16. And now the Pats are driving. And this is where John Madden talks about this is where they should go for the win and then settle for the field goal if they don't get the touchdown. And the next play was Brady hitting the back shoulder throw to David Givens. Was it over Delta O'Neal? Or was it his backup?
Yeah, it's Delta.
I mean, that
over
was
Delta O'Neal.
Tough defense from. I mean, it wasn't like Delta O'Neal's fault. That was a fucking.
No, yeah, it was the perfect throw on his coverage. Yeah,
the back shoulder
uncoverable.
right at the corner of the end zone. That's a hard pass.
Yeah, Brady threw it at the pylon. Givens turned back shoulder, 18-yard touchdown.
Givens was a G in this game.
Yeah,
he was so awesome. And now that I'm rewatching this season, I realize how formulative this was in my Patriots fandom because I loved David Givens.
You did. I remember
he balls out in this game, and I love the shark tooth hats.
Yes,
because there's a bunch of pictures of me when we must have gone to England at this time wearing a Bruin shark tooth hat. I think this is the season where I switched from hard Bruins to hard Patriots.
Hell yeah. And also, weren't you a Titans fan before this too?
No, that was like middle school era. That's when I could draw. So I started to figure out how to draw.
Mm-hmm.
They were always my second team.
Okay.
There are pictures of me wearing a Notre Dame hat, a Michigan State hat.
True. Those two go together.
But never a Titans hat.
No, never a Titans pair. Well, you had a jersey though, didn't you? You had like an Eddie George jersey.
I don't think so.
Pretty sure there was an Eddie George jersey in the house at one point.
Maybe.
Is that yours, Greg?
No, it was Steve's.
Yeah, I thought so.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love him because Dad called him the man with 2 first names.
Of course he did. But yeah, just to finish this game out, Denver holding penalty on the kickoff, so they start their own 13 with 23 seconds left, so no chance. And then the one deep shot, like we talked about earlier, by your boy Danny Cannell, was picked off by Asante Samuel to end the game.
Fuck. Did you know his son is in the draft right now?
And isn't his son also named Asante Samuel?
Asante Samuel Jr. is like a first-round projected cornerback out of Florida State. Yeah.
No shit. I didn't know he was that high of a prospect.
Also,
yeah. He's supposed to be.
Surtain, doesn't he have a kid?
Yeah, he's like a top 15 prospect. He's like the best corner in college football right now.
And Winfield had a kid last year drafted, I feel like.
Yeah, he plays on the Bucks.
Yep.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Samuel shut up a little bit in this game, but it was more like the vets, I feel like. You know, the Teddy Bruschi's, the Willie McGinnis, the guys who were, you know, the rookies have shut up earlier in this game, but like this game seemed like one of those like grind it out, win it with just making one more play than the other guys sort of thing.
Yep.
And that's why Belichick put Troy Brown there to field that punt because, like, you know, I don't want to put somebody back there that could possibly lose.
Yeah, you don't want Deion Branch back there fumbling it again. Even though he could probably break it, there's more of a chance of him breaking it for a big play.
Not even breaking it, but him not fucking it up. They were like, it seemed like they were both coaches were sort of playing to not make the big mistake.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He made those 2 mistakes early with the interception and the fumble was bullshit, by the way. A clear recovery by Tom Brady. That was the fucking worst call of all time. But, you know, those 2 mistakes early, and Belichick knew, like, we shouldn't have won because of that, you know, because the game was so tight.
It was very tight.
The game was awesome to watch start to finish.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a game that I would recommend rewatching if you can find it.
This one and the Bears one, the Lake Champlain one, those sort of stick out a little bit. They're similar.
And even the Chiefs one
better
from 2002 as well.
Yeah, this one was probably the best of those 3 though, because John Madden and we didn't like getting over the hump in Denver too. You know.
Yeah, that was the first time the Patriots had won in Denver in a long time, I think.
No, they'd won in that 2000 season, which was the first time in forever. And then Brady had thrown those 4 picks in the fourth quarter or whatever it was. Last time he was there in 2001, he just shit the bed. It was the worst game as a pro at that point.
Yeah. And
Denver had always, I mean, it continued to be honestly a tough place for them to play. And Belichick said it, you know, beating Denver in Denver is as hard as it gets.
Well, in the Boston Globe the next day, Dan Shaughnessy, of all people, wrote about how basically the Patriots weren't the Red Sox and didn't fail you at every turn. But he wrote, the victory destroyed some of the Sox-like ghosts that had tortured the Patriots in the city.
Shaughnessy.
New England had won only once here being Denver, since 1968, and Brady was 0-2 against the Broncos. It was at this new stadium 2 years ago that young Brady threw the first interception of his career. The Broncos picked him off 4 times in a single half. The Patriots were also battling a Monday night jinx. New England came into the game with a lifetime mark of 9-19 in the NFL showcase for Monday night.
Yeah, people like take it at this point, understandably, take for granted of like the prime time show up and crush, and you know, at that point that was not the.
It's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Denver too.
So we want to do best and worst?
Yes.
All right. Greg, you got any best and worst?
Yeah. They're kind of like unrelated, but just a couple things we didn't talk about.
Let's hear it.
Best, I guess we'll call it the best. The Broncos actually had a pretty decent season. They go to 5-4 at this game.
Mm-hmm.
but they end up 10-6. They had the 4th ranked defense in the league and the 7th ranked offense in the league.
Damn, with all those injuries too.
Yeah.
Defense surprised me because they had nobody back there.
Jake Plummer 9-2 as a starter this year.
Damn.
So that's probably what really hurt him was Plummer's injury.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of reading about Plummer, and he's like kind of a cool cat. Like he retired early to like he lives in like Idaho, like completely off the map. He was like a professional handball player with his brother. He did a bunch of shit with Pat Tillman because they played at Arizona State together and in Arizona together.
I was going to say, he started in Arizona.
Yeah, so he's like a big Pat Tillman. We did a ton of shit with that. So my worst is I found some quotes from like Colorado newspapers when he retired early.
Oh boy.
So they were all pissy because like he was like he'd made the Pro Bowl 2 years before that.
Oh, damn.
So Milo F. Bryant of the Gazette in Colorado said, "Good riddance." And the Rocky Mountain News went further. If Plummer is willing to run away from $5 million or so, his spirit is as weak as his arm.
I feel like it's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like Jason's thinking
It's like literally the opposite of that.
Listen to this fucking guy. He says that Plummer is contradicting the soul of competition. We cannot accept that in ourselves or in our heroes. What a fucking
Who is this fucking douche?
Dude, some newspaper in Colorado.
Oh, what a cow.
God.
Yeah.
I thought his Boston Media was bad. That's fucking pretty bad.
And partly, like, I guess Plummer was like ahead of the curve on all the head injury stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. And he was ahead of the curve on medicinal marijuana. He was like talking about legalizing marijuana to like deal with football injuries.
Damn.
So I don't know. Plummer seems like a pretty cool dude.
I always kind of conflated him with Jay Cutler, but like a cooler Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Like a happy
similar style of play, but like less douchey.
Yeah.
Jake,
I always remember him with the flowing locks.
Yeah. Well, he did that. He did that because of Pat Tillman. So he grew out his hair and his mustache because that was like Tillman's signature look.
Really?
Before he had to cut it for the military. So that was that was to honor Tillman.
No way.
Cool. And he gave his eulogy at Tillman's funeral in a suit with flip-flops on.
What?
That's my kind of guy.
I need a friend like Jake Plummer, man.
I feel like we need a Jake Plummer jersey.
Don't worry, Greg. I'll give your eulogy with a tie-dye shirt that's cut off at the sleeves and a Santa on the middle of it.
Yeah, the Santa shirt. That's what you need.
And flip-flops, dude. What a legend.
I mean, I sort of like Jake Plummer. Now I fucking love Jake Plummer.
Big fan of Jake Plummer.
Great nickname, too. Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake's a great
for sure.
name, yeah. All right, Steve, you want to go?
Yeah. All right. There was a sweet double move to Givens. I'm going to highlight the David Givens great plays because he had a sick-ass double play, double move. And that was definitely part Brady, part Givens, but both awesome.
Yeah.
Is that my most positive? I don't know.
Do you have the play there where Brady hit Givens in the hands, it deflected off it, and Deion Branch caught it for like 20 yards? Because that was a great play.
I did have the question that they had a Broncos linebacker mic'd up,
mm-hmm.
and he's talking about how he was lined up for a play, and his mouth guard fell out.
Yeah,
and they snapped it on him. Then they came back to show him that he was cutting his mouth guard, and they could fit in his mouth against better. But then Al Michaels like, well, what if the archives of NFL mic'd up are like? And I'm like, it's a great point, Al. Like,
man.
Imagine all of the NFL mic'd up shit that doesn't hit.
That doesn't make,
Yeah, we
get aired.
Because like the Sam Darnold seeing ghosts thing, I remember them being pissed about that.
Yep.
they never ran it by his team or whatever. There's
Right,
they
right.
released that without his acknowledgement, and there's got to be like being the editor for that shit. It's got to be one of the best jobs in like audio visual, just being like listening to a fuck ton of sound effects and be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
these
chatter.
are the clips we can actually release, but like, oh my god, this is also ridiculous.
Oh,
If only my friends knew, you know.
I paid good money to get into that archive.
For
Like, listen.
sure.
That'd be great.
And then probably my best is the last bit of this entire VHS recording. This reporter asked Belichick, she's like, how good does it feel to go into the bye with a W? And you can see it in his face where he clearly had not even thought about that.
Yeah.
He hadn't even processed that the bye is next week. And he's
Right.
like, oh shit, you're right. The bye is next week.
That's kind of
Yeah,
nice.
I guess that's cool. You know, every week it's good to have a win. Was like his like answer, but like you could see the gears grinding in his head.
Yeah.
That he was so focused on the week that he didn't even have a thought. He didn't even realize the bye was next week.
That's very Belichick, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Love it.
so on brand.
Got any more?
The worst. I got a worst.
Give me a worst.
You had talked about this book the other day, Andy, the Dynasty book.
Mhm.
I started reading that,
Got it here.
which is tough because there's no pictures and
Yeah, a lot of words.
yeah, Lauren has to read it to me and then I
Yeah.
process it that way. But there's a ton about Bill Parcells in there, and I already hated Parcells, but
Yeah.
now I hate him even more. And in this game, he came up and like, wow, he's doing such a great job with Dallas, you know?
Yeah. It's true. Yeah,
So-
yeah. That book doesn't paint a particularly pretty picture of the Bill
I
Parcells
mean,
era.
the book is pretty factual, I feel.
Yeah.
I
Which
guess
is
that and Brady got up to 8 interceptions in week 9?
Yes, week 9.
So he's thrown a ton of picks.
He has, but he's
Is
also.
this his year with the most interceptions?
Let's find out.
I feel like it's up there.
Do we want to guess what the most interceptions he's ever thrown in a season is?
12,
12 yeah, I think it's 12.
Incorrect.
11,
14?
Incorrect.
16.
This also includes playoffs, I'm assuming. But in 4 years, he has thrown 16 interceptions.
He's thrown 16 picks in 4 different seasons.
Yep.
Is this one of them?
This is not. In this season, he would throw 14, which is his second most. He would also do that again.
8
In
week
2002, 3, and 4, he would throw 14 interceptions each season. In 2011, of all seasons, 2005, 2006, and 2009, he would throw 16 interceptions in each of those seasons.
Yeah.
In 2011, including playoffs, he also threw for 6,000 yards and 47 touchdowns. So 16 interceptions, that's all right.
Yes.
6,000.
How many does he have this year?
I don't know.
He's got 40 tutties.
Yeah, I'm in on Tom Brady this year. And the Bills.
Tom Brady this year has 2020. How much interceptions? He has 12 interceptions on the year.
I feel like threw a lot of those early too.
So the most in the regular season he's thrown is 14, which was 2002, 4, and 5.
It's surprising because he's got a lot early here.
Mhm.
He's up to 8 through 9 weeks?
Yeah, he'll throw 12 this season in the regular season.
That's pretty good. So it was
Not
8
bad.
and 9 and then
Yeah, he recovers.
5.
Sounds like a focus in the bye week.
You're right.
Taking
They
care of the
get,
football.
Get that shit sorted out. All right, so I'm going to do the nerd stat of the week. The Patriots have started 40 players this season, 40 different starters, which is most in the league. And they showed a stat where NFL since 2000, the annual leaders of most starters used 2000, it was the Jaguars and the Patriots, both these 42 starters. The Jaguars had the better record at 7-9. In 2001, it was the Bills and the Lions who combined for 5 wins. Each team had 44 starters. 2002, it was the Bears with 49 starters. They had 4 wins. And this 2003 Patriots team has 40 starters, which leads the league, and they are currently 7-2, which is pretty impressive. Because if you have that big of a turnover, that's usually not a good sign for your.
Yeah, I mean, and
record.
think about one of those starters is Lauren Malloy, gone
Yep.
for the year before the year started.
Yeah, so there's just so many different players.
Yeah, this might be Belichick's, crowning achievement coaching, just winning games. This is a gut 'em out game right here.
Yep.
With that intentional safety as like the crowning achievement of like just playing chess and people playing checkers.
Yeah. My actual best in this game was this was, do they still do it? I'm not quite sure. But the Monday night game where each player used to say their name and like where they're from.
Yes.
And Damian Woody called himself Big Wood in the player intro.
Okay.
Didn't say Damian Woody. He's like
he's from
Big Wood, and then wherever he's from, which is fucking.
I love like Eastern Illinois, and then they had to correct him on the broadcast.
Oh, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. It's his hometown.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's a big fucking hometown stan. He like does a ton of work for where he grew up.
I think I'll have Greg on this podcast.
Yeah.
Clear it up.
Yeah.
And the worst was they showed a shot of Pat Bowlen, the president of the Broncos, and he's definitely wearing wide receiver gloves. With his suit and tie. Which, here, I'll even share the picture with you so you don't think I'm lying. But
I'll believe you, but okay.
I took a screenshot, and this is what he looked like. Those
are wide receiver gloves. The black outside, inside, white.
The white, the white on the inside. And then you can see the little logos on the... Yeah. Fucking hell. So...
While sitting inside, by the way.
I want to do a honorable mention to Micah Noor, the punter for the Broncos, who went 2 for 2 on extra points after Elam went down. Good for him.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
All right. What's next week? Patriots are
gonna win.
Heading home. Oh, speaking of Bill Parcells, Steven. Bill Parcells coming to town.
We play the Cowboys
with his 6-3 Dallas Cowboys.
No,
7-2 Dallas Cowboys. Excuse me, facing the 7-2 New England Patriots. Sunday night game.
Sunday
Gillette.
night.
Oh yeah,
nice. I'm in on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you have anything you want to tell us, don't forget we haven't been mentioning this lately, but we have the Dynasty Hotline. You can text us 603. What's the number?
Something about Troy Brown shooting a 3.
603-505-8043.
Yes.
8043. 603-505-8043. Shoot us a text. We've got a couple actually.
Have we?
Yeah. In fact, let's
from me?
No, from an actual listener.
Nah.
Yeah. From I'm gonna butcher his name. Tariq. Terik.
Tariq, yeah.
Yeah, we got over the holidays. He said, "Dear Brown Brothers, just want to say I love the podcast and look forward to it each and every week." This may be our mother writing. I love football history, and especially the New England Patriots. So these podcast episodes are right up my alley, as I love reliving the Patriots of yesterday on nostalgia. Anyway, keep up the good work, gentlemen. I look forward to more episodes and more stat checks. Sincerely, Tariq. So
that's true. We need to make Greg work harder.
Thanks, Tyreek.
Yeah.
What did Mom say?
I think that was Mom.
No, that was Tariq. Mom would be more about I love each of you equally.
I don't think she would say that, except for Gregory. Mom did say something. What did she say to us?
I've learned a lot about you. This podcast is inappropriate when you're talking about dick pics. That's about the feedback I've got from Mom.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Gregory, stop talking about your Willie. I think was up there.
No more Willie talk. Willie Middlebrooks on the Broncos
That's true. There's also, goddamn, this should be a phone in. You people don't know my beloved Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
That's Mom.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, Tariq.
Yeah.
And everybody else.
You're pretty cool too.
Who sent us comments or anything.
I love you, Jesus.
So let us know. Jesus
Christ, Lord and Savior.
505 80 for 3.
4-3. That's right.
All right.
And we'll probably read it on the podcast because we don't actually get many of these. All right, gentlemen. Until next week, we will see you later.
See you
later.